Oh gosh, I really need to record in the morning because I have this terrible shadow behind me. Today's topic is top tips for making IEP meetings move more smoothly and to cut down on time. Sometimes with young teams, they're spending just a lot of time writing or facilitating meetings because they don't have the skills to facilitate a meeting well, or because they haven't done some other things to prepare. So here are my top tips. The first one is make sure a draft went home. There is absolutely no reason why you should be reading aloud from the evaluation report, from the draft, because everyone should have received that draft, processed it, and we're ready to have the actual discussions about what's in that draft. Tip number 2 is to have an agenda with times listed. Just having that agenda can help. But I also recommend for tip number 3, having a designated timer, note taker, and facilitator, all of those being different people. I often find also that special education teachers sometimes need to not be the facilitator because they are super focused on the IEP and the work that they've done. Or it's hard to multitask, like those kinds of things. So different roles for different people in the room. Let's see here. Ground in the law. This is my favorite because, I'm obsessed with law stuff. So what I like to do is to ground in, what is this meeting about? Are we at an annual review? Are we at a reevaluation? Are we going to be going through checklists? These are things that a family may not actually understand when they get the invite about what's actually going to happen. So I usually try to frame just, this is the type of meeting that we're in, which means these things are going to happen. And that just helps run things more smoothly. I also like to ground in sort of whatever kind of like topic is going to be, I think, like an issue or a disagreement. And I'll talk specifically about, how we make IEP team decisions. How is that going to happen today if we don't agree? How are we going to decide on the language of the IEP if there's disagreement? Or how do we make a decision about LRE? What does that look like? What are we going to do with data? All of those things I try to front load so that everyone is sort of grounded in the same understanding of what's going to happen and what's going to take place in the IEP. Last tip, is a really big one, and not a lot of people get access to this, which is really tough. Making IEP team decisions. The IEP team has an obligation to make decisions based on the needs of the child and to provide an offer of FAPE. FAPE is not preference. FAPE is what the child needs in order to get an appropriate education. And so when there's disagreement, the obligation is really to do what is best and to not necessarily do what the preference of one of the team members, including the parents, is. And so working with parents and making team decisions when parents disagree is a really, really sort of difficult skill, and it's something that should be trained on. So if you are in the position of being a director designee and walking into contentious IEP meetings, you really need to have training around how to facilitate the conversations that are going to lead to an IEP meeting team decision that may not be the one that everyone agrees to, but is the decision of the team. If you don't have that skill, what happens is you talk and talk and talk, and then you meet again and talk and talk and talk, and nothing ever gets stamped as like, this is the decision. Obviously, PWNs in this case are really important. And there will probably be lots of posts on those in the future because I love PWNs. So that's my top tips for making a meeting move smoother, faster, more efficiently. And to be honest, everyone benefits, including the parents, advocates, if you follow these best practices.